Hi everybody, Beth Combs here, and I'm coming to you live from the Grand Canyon from my dining room. And hopefully you are ready to practice some yoga with me for the next hour. You might have seen I put a Facebook Live video on just sometime in the last hour and a half mentioning that I'm trying to I want to be active, and I know a lot of other people are feeling kind of cabin feverish right now, but it's also the new moon, I believe was yesterday or today, and so actually I think it was yesterday, and just with everything that's been going on just in the world right now, and people just really kind of being challenged out of their comfort zone, I thought it might be helpful, I know for me personally, but hopefully for others, if I did a little bit more of a restorative type class. And so that is what I am gonna focus on this evening. We're gonna do a little bit of movement, but it's not gonna be, it's gonna be a little more chill than I would say my normal classes are. So I hope you find it supportive. I hope you find it helpful. And I just want to say thank you so much for those of you that are attending live. I hope that we can reap the benefits of practicing together in online community. And for those of you that are going to be watching the recording, I just want to say that I'm so proud of all of you for showing up for yourselves and showing self-care towards yourself. It's so critical, especially when we are challenged, like many of us feel currently, to really make sure that we are taking time to practice self-care and to nourish ourselves. And yoga is a great way to do that. So those of you who have practiced previously definitely understand that. Hopefully, if you're new, you will also benefit from this. So I will mention that because it's a more restorative type of class, we are going to use quite a bit of props this evening. And I know it might be hard for some of you. You might not have a lot of props at home. Stephanie had a great video showing ways to make things work from your house. And so I'm sitting on a bolster right now. And I've got a couple of blankets here as well as a meditation pillow. And then I've got my 2 blocks here and a strap. You can also, for the bolster, you could use a sofa cushion or a large pillow of some type, or even just like any kind of pillow, sofa pillows, those kinds of things. The blankets, you could use towels instead if that's what you have. For the blocks, these are my yoga blocks, but you could use boxes that are pretty sturdy, or books, like larger books, like a big dictionary or something like that. Something that's not gonna collapse on you if you put any pressure on it. And then for the strap, you could also use a belt or an exercise band, anything that hopefully won't stretch too much. But those are kind of some alternatives that you can use. And then I definitely recommend, if you've got essential oils that you're diffusing right now, that's great. Or a candle you might want to light to set the mood or set the tone for your practice. And then any music that you enjoy listening to, relaxing music you enjoy. I definitely recommend the Spa channel on SiriusXM is probably my favorite channel for yoga. There's also a Krishna Das yoga radio channel on the app as well. So, and then Spotify and things like that. You can actually just type in spa in the search and find all kinds of options. So if you'd like some background music, feel free to take a look at those. We are going to start this evening in seated cross-legged pose. So again, if you're like me and your tailbone likes to stick out a little bit, or you've got tight hips, my hips are pretty tight, then you want to actually try to sit up on something. So I'll show you when I sit flat on the floor and I cross my legs, you can see that my knees are up pretty high in comparison to my hips. There's actually a pretty deep angle here going back towards my hips. So in order to actually get my hips in line with my knees, I need to sit up on a bolster. You might not need quite that much cushion, and so you could probably just use a blanket, a towel, or a smaller pillow like this one might work fine. So I just want you to check in with that alignment because it makes it a lot easier to sit in this position for a bit when you are in proper alignment for your body. So I just encourage all of you to really tune in to what your body is feeling this evening. Anything that comes up during your practice. Yoga is a great practice for helping us tune in to what our bodies are experiencing. And especially if we have pent up emotions, our bodies end up kind of holding on to those. And yoga can be a great practice to help us kind of move through those emotions a little bit more. So hopefully we've created a safe environment for you to be able to experience whatever it is that comes up. It is okay. No judgment on what your body can or cannot do, what you are or are not feeling right now. I just invite you to be present in the moment here, and I encourage you to really tune into your body and tune into your breath throughout the practice, and we'll go ahead and get started. So again, we're going to start in seated cross-legged pose. So you really want to make sure that you're feeling your sits bones connect with whatever it is you're sitting on. You may even want to kind of pull the butt flesh out of the way so that you're really connecting your sits bones with whatever it is you happen to be sitting on. And I want you to lengthen up through your spine, almost like you have a string pulling you from the crown of your head. And you want your chin parallel to the earth. And there's a few options for your hands. You can place your hands palms down like I'm showing you right here. This can be a more grounding pose if you need a little bit more grounding. If you feel like you are feeling a little more receptive, like you want to be open to love or peace, you can actually flip the palms and face them up. You kind of want your elbows right underneath your shoulders here, so you don't want your arms way out in front of you. It's more comfortable to have your elbows lined up beneath your shoulders. You can also just place your hands in your lap, one hand in front of the other or on top of the other. So try those different positions, see what works best for you or feels best to you this evening. And we're just going to begin lengthening our inhales and our exhales. We're going to actually inhale through the nose and then exhale through the mouth 3 times. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. So exhaling through the mouth is actually helpful to engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which is actually our rest and digest system. And so I think all of us probably need a little bit more of that engagement and not so much our fight or flight response. I know I'm dealing with pretty regularly. I feel like I've practically been hyperventilating most of this last week or so, just from anxiety. So the breath has been super critical to help me feel grounded and safe once again. So if you would like to continue exhaling through the mouth, feel free to do so throughout the practice tonight. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and we're going to switch to Ujjayi breath, which kind of sounds like Darth Vader or ocean waves. And you basically exhale through the back of the throat, almost like a soft wave or wind that's just gently stroking the back of your throat. You also want to make sure you don't have your tongue tied to the roof of your mouth. You actually want to release your tongue and allow it to be soft instead. Feel free to close your eyes here. If you feel safe to do so, and if not, you can always just gaze softly in front of you, about 5 or 10 feet. maybe towards the floor, maybe towards a candle or a diffuser. Another way to help us feel grounded is to actually take our hand and place it on our tailbone. And just below our tailbone is where our first chakra is located. This is where our safety, our family, kind of our foundation is located. And so sometimes I feel like when my brain is just kind of monkey mind is going and I'm spinning out of control, I will sometimes just hold my hand on my tailbone here and kind of help feel grounded. I feel like it connects me almost like a tree with roots down into the center of the earth. It really just helps me feel focused and grounded that much more strongly. So I would definitely recommend trying that if you haven't before and see how that feels. Just continue breathing here. We're just settling in for our practice tonight. And then we're just gonna begin to invite a little bit of movement here. So go ahead and place your right hand down next to your right hip. We're gonna inhale and lift the left arm up alongside the left ear, and then fold over to the right any amount. If you'd like to stretch your neck, maybe you can look up towards the ceiling under that left arm. We'll inhale, come back to center, and then switch sides. So left hand down next to the left hip. Inhale, right arm up alongside the right ear, and then over to the left. Again, feel free to look up towards the ceiling. And tonight's theme, as we're practicing, is just the idea of surrender. So right now, a lot of things are in flux for a lot of people. Things feel out of control. They feel uncertain. So I just really encourage and invite you. You created this space for you to practice tonight. I really invite you to surrender into each of the poses, surrender into the props that we're going to be using. Really just allow the earth to support you and help you feel centered and grounded. Take this time and this opportunity in your practice tonight to surrender to your practice. Then we're going to go ahead and switch the cross of our legs. So we tend to always have one way we prefer to like cross our legs or clasp our hands. So we just want to make sure that we're kind of balancing our bodies out a little bit more. This time we're going to take our left hand up alongside our left ear, and then we're going to rotate to the right. And you can place your hands on your left hand on your right knee. Maybe grab a block and place your right hand behind you. You're going to inhale and sit up nice and tall, and then exhale and rotate even just a tiny bit to the right. With each inhale, lengthen. With each exhale, rotate a little bit more. And once you've gone as far as you can, feel free to look over that right shoulder behind you. And we'll exhale, rotate back to the center. And then we're going to lift our right arm up alongside our right ear. Inhale, and then exhale, twist to the left. Move that block over if you need something to place your left hand on. So again, sit up nice and tall on the inhale. On the exhale, rotate to the left. Inhale to sit up. Exhale to rotate. Inhale to sit up. And then rotate, and then turn your head to look over your left shoulder once you've gone as far as you can. Then we'll inhale and come back to center. You can move the block out of the way. And then we'll go ahead and come on to hands and knees or tabletop position. So whatever you're sitting on, feel free to move that out of the way on either side of your mat. So in tabletop, we want to make sure our knees are lined up right underneath our hips and our wrists are lined up right underneath our shoulders. That helps protect our wrists and also our hips and our knees. And you want to make sure the tops of your feet are on the mat. So all 5 toes should be touching the mat. So you might need to roll your feet one way or the other to make that happen. And we're going to do a few rounds of what's called cat-cow here. So we're going to inhale and we're going to lift our forehead and our tailbone up at the same time. Then we're going to exhale and we're going to pull our belly button back towards our spine and round our back. Inhale to come up. Exhale to pull back. Inhale to come up. Exhale to pull back. And then I invite you to follow your own breath for the last 2. And then we'll all meet back at tabletop position. Next, we're going to do some hip circles. So the hips and the pelvis are actually an area, I'll just sit back so you can see me a little bit, hear me a little better. The hips are an area, that second chakra is tied to our emotions. It's tied to the element of water. And it's also where we tend to grip. We tend to hold emotions in our body, things that we maybe don't want to feel in the moment. So I feel like for me, hip work is one of the most critical of all the types of poses because I feel like I tend to avoid a lot of emotional response. And so that is probably one reason that I have tight hips and have mobility issues in my hips sometimes. So I just encourage you to kind of allow whatever may come up as we do some of our hip movement this evening. Just allow it to be there. Trust that your body is just trying to take as best care of you as it can and just allow things to flow. Just like that water element, just allow those emotions to kind of flow through you. So with our hip circles, we want to start again with in tabletop position, and you've got a couple options here. So You can do hip circles in the shape of an oval. So you actually bring your butt back towards your heels and then pull your hips towards your fingers and kind of make an oval shape. Your other option is almost as if you were playing with a hula hoop. So you actually bring the hips up towards the ceiling and then down towards the mat in a circular fashion. So just try each of them and see whichever one works best for you. We're going to start going in one direction. And then go ahead and switch directions. And then come back to center in tabletop position once again. And then we're going to do just a little bit of a shoulder stretch here. So you might have to move your props a little bit further away from you. And go ahead and grab your blocks and have them close to you. We're going to keep our left hand planted on the mat. We're going to take our right hand and we're going to slide it underneath our left arm. So you want your left arm at a 90-degree angle. And you want to feel this stretch in the middle upper back. So if you start to feel that here, go ahead and grab your block and you can rest your shoulder on the block so you're not hovering. If you can make it all the way to the mat, you can even place your head down on the mat. Remember to breathe here. And then inhale, come back up to tabletop. So one reason I really like that stretch is some of us hold a lot of tension in our shoulders. And this is a great stretch to kind of get into that upper back area and the shoulder area and kind of stretch it out. That's not an area that's very easy to get to when we stretch. So that's why I really like this pose. So we'll go to the other side now. So right hand planted, left hand, we're going to flip the palm up and slide it underneath. And again, you can place a block under your left shoulder, or you can go all the way down to the mat and rest your head on the mat. Then we'll inhale and come back up to center. And then we're gonna go ahead and just step our feet in between our hands here. And take a forward fold. So you wanna make sure your feet are grounded and even on all four corners of your feet. If your hamstrings are tight, feel free to bend your knees here. And then we'll take the ragdoll expression. So you can clasp the elbows and hang your head down. Just allow gravity to pull your head towards the floor. Maybe shake your head no. Nod your head yes. Just allow the tension in the neck to release. Maybe sway a little from side to side. And then go ahead and change the clasp of your elbows. And then go ahead and bend your knees. And then we're going to sweep the arms up and around. Bring the hands down to heart center. And we're going to stand here in Tadasana for just a few breaths. So again, making sure our feet, we've got even weight between all four corners of the feet. Our quads are pulling up from our kneecaps. Our frontal hip bones are reaching in towards our bottom ribs, so almost a mini crunch. We want the shoulder blades gliding down our backs and our head, like that string pulling from the crown of the head with the chin parallel to the mat. You can stand with your hands, palms facing forward. Take a few breaths. And then we're going to do something called resilience breathing. So you can stay where you are on the mat. I'm just making sure that you can see most of my whole body while we do this next movement. So resilience breathing, as you can tell from the name, is to help us build up our resilience, which I think all of us need some support with right now. So we're going to inhale and sweep the arms up and the palms touch at the top. You don't have to bend your knees. I'm just showing you what it looks like since my camera is a little too, oh, there we go. And then on the exhale, we're going to bring our hands down to heart center and we're going to sigh out the exhale. We're going to do this 10 times. So inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale. Be as audible as you want to be on the exhale. Inhale. 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 And one more time. Inhale. You can keep your hands together at heart center or rest them down by your side, yogi's choice. And then we're going to go ahead and do just 2 sun salutations, just to keep some movement in our bodies, to kind of flow a little bit. Sometimes I really find that the practice of vinyasa or flow actually helps me get into a meditative state. So I did want to share that with you all just a little bit, so you can see what it's like, and you can definitely do more of it on your own later. But as I said, I mostly want to do a restorative class tonight, so I'm not going to do my usual 5. So we're going to start in Tadasana, feet hip width apart. You can bring the big toes to touch if you'd like. My hips are a little tight, as I've said, so I prefer hip width apart. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale and fold forward. We're going to inhale and lift the torso halfway up. You'll notice my hands are on the sides of my calves, and that's to allow me to be in a 90-degree angle. If I drop all the way to the floor, my torso is too far down. And this also helps make sure I'm not pushing my knees back in a locked position. Then we exhale, fold forward again, and then we're going to actually lower down to the mat in tabletop. So place your hands flat on the mat, bring your feet back, lower the torso all the way down. Then we're going to inhale into cobra. So I want you to pull your tailbone back towards your heels, keep all 10 toes touching the mat, and then bring your torso up on an inhale. And then exhale and pull your hips back into downward facing dog. So You're gonna have your hands shoulder width apart, your feet are hip width apart. You've got even weight between your hands and your feet. Most of the weight in your hands is actually between your index finger and your thumb. So you have a nice L there. You're bringing your upper arms in towards your ears and then pulling back, pulling your hips up towards the ceiling, pulling yourself back toward your heels. Your heels don't have to touch the mat. They just need to reach toward it. We'll take 5 breaths in downward facing dog. Then we'll inhale and we'll step the feet up to the top of the mat in between the hands and lift the torso halfway up. And then exhale, fold forward. And then inhale, sweep the arms up and around. And exhale the arms down by the sides. So we'll do that one more time. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, the torso halfway up. Exhale, lower down to tabletop. And then all the way to the mat. Inhale up to cobra. And then exhale back to downward facing dog. Then we'll inhale, step the feet up to the top of the mat. Lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and around. Exhale the arms down by the sides. And then one of the few standing poses that I'd like to do this evening is tree pose. So I want you to really root down through your right foot. Firm the outer right hip in towards the midline of your body. And then we're going to start by just taking our left heel and placing it on the right shin or the right calf. With the toes, the left toes are still touching the mat. So you really want to keep your hips facing forward. So that might mean you can't crank your left leg out all the way to the side. That is okay. That's not the point. The point is to feel rooted and grounded and to face the hips forward. You want to gaze about 10 feet in front of you on the floor. You can leave your hands on your hips, or you can bring the arms up alongside the ears. If you feel pretty steady and balanced, you can also bring the foot up higher on your calf, or you can even bring it up to the thigh. Just avoid the knee area. We don't want any pressure on the knee. Take 5 breaths here. And then we'll exhale, lower everything down. Feel free to shake your legs out if they feel a little cramped. That just means you're working them, and that's okay. So then we're going to ground through our left heel. We're going to firm the left hip in towards the midline. We're going to bring our hands to our hips. We're going to bring that right heel above the left ankle. You can leave the toes on the mat here. You can also feel free to go up against a wall if you just don't feel very steady today. Use a wall or some piece of furniture that's pretty sturdy. You don't want, like I wouldn't use these chairs here because they're not, if I tip towards them, they might fall over. So you really want to root down through that left foot. Maybe you can bring your right foot up a little bit higher on your leg. And this time we're going to do cactus arms. Again, gaze about 10 feet in front of you. Maybe you can feel the roots shooting from the bottom of your heel down into the center of the earth to ground and support you. Then we're going to exhale, lower everything down once again. And then we'll go ahead and sit back down on our mats. And we'll do a few forward folds. So I really like forward folds. They kind of help us to turn inward, to be a little bit more introspective, which is very fitting, I think, for a lot of what we're dealing with in the world right now, but also the new moon tends to lend itself more because the moon itself, it seems like it's hiding. We are not necessarily hiding, but just turning more inward and more reflective on our lives and how things are going. And so we are going to do quite a few forward folds. They're also just very nourishing and they feel really supportive. And so that's what I wanted to offer you this evening. So we're going to start with our both legs out in front for our forward fold. And you heard me mention earlier, my tailbone likes to stick out a little bit when I'm standing. So I actually prefer to sit up on a blanket or a pillow when I'm doing forward folds. It just really helps my back to actually straighten out in proper alignment. So I would say if you feel like your butt likes to do that too, then you might want to also consider trying it. Just give it a try and see if it helps. I definitely notice a difference when I don't have a blanket, and I prefer doing the forward folds with a blanket almost all the time now. This is also where you might want your strap or belt with you. And you might also want a blanket if you have one. So if you have a blanket, go ahead and place it on your thighs. We're going to inhale, bring our arms up alongside our ears, either with or without a strap, and then exhale and fold forward in the amount. So if the backs of your thighs are really tight, feel free to bend your knees here. If you can also place your hands around your feet if you can reach that far. But I want you to actually pull your chest up towards the ceiling first, and then fold forward. Maybe widen the elbows, as you can see I'm doing here, especially if you have the strap. Keep your feet flexed. And just breathe into your belly. And then we'll inhale, release the strap, bring the arms up alongside the ears, and then lower down. And then we're going to do the same stretch, but as a single leg stretch. So we'll leave the right leg extended. Our heel is pressing, flexing our foot, our right foot. We also want to bring the left foot up to the right thigh and flex that foot as well, so it's also active. Again, feel free to grab a blanket here if you feel like you need it. Grab your strap. So you want both feet to be active. You're going to inhale, extend the arms up, exhale, fold forward. So again, you might be folding right over this blanket here. And you want to try to line the heart up with your big toe. And that little twist helps with digestion, helps to release any toxins in our bodies. So we'll inhale, bring the strap back up, exhale, lower down, and then we'll switch sides. So left leg extended, right foot up against the left thigh, the inside of the left thigh. We'll bring our blanket up again if we need it. We'll grab our strap, inhale, lift up, exhale, fold forward. So again, trying to get that heart lined up with the big toe. And this stretch I really like because we're stretching the hamstring of the extended leg, but I can also feel a stretch in my low back and my glute area. So we'll inhale, bring the arms up, exhale, lower down. And then we're gonna go ahead and widen our legs on the mat. So you might wanna turn sideways, but since I wanna make sure I'm facing the camera, I'm gonna go ahead and straddle the mat instead. So we want to spread our feet wide apart, maybe 3 to 4 feet. Normally we would do this in a standing position, but I'm gonna do it seated instead. We want our feet flexed, so our toes pointing towards the ceiling. And we're gonna go ahead and lean towards the right. Maybe we take a block and we rest our right elbow on it. And then we're gonna bring our left arm up alongside our left ear. Again, remember to keep the feet engaged. Maybe look up towards the ceiling. Inhale, come back up to center. We can switch sides with our block. So this time we'll lean to the left and bring our right arm up alongside the right ear. This stretch helps us stretch our groin area, which is really helpful for our lymph nodes. And it also helps to stretch our ribs and the intercostal muscles, which can be really helpful during cold season, especially if we have a cough. And then come back to center. Can move our block out of the way. And then we'll go ahead and we'll move our blanket or our pillow off to the side. We're gonna do just a couple rounds of bridge pose. So forward folds really help us to be introspective, but it can cause us to be really introverted and never really come out of our shell. So it's really important to balance forward folds with some back bends and some heart openers. So we're gonna do that with bridge pose. If you've got a block, go ahead and grab it, and then you're gonna lay down on your back. You want your ankles lined up underneath your knees, and your butt should be just a few inches away from your heels. You're gonna take your block and you're gonna place it in between your thighs. Place the hands, palms facing down on either side of your hips. You're gonna take an inhale and lift your hips up towards the ceiling while squeezing the block. Exhale, come down. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Inhale up. Exhale down. Take a breath. And then one more time. Inhale up. Maybe you can even clasp the hands underneath your hips. Then we'll exhale all the way down. And you can take that block out of the way. And then we'll do, go ahead and grab your bolster or your sofa cushion or a couple blankets. And I think I'll go this direction so you guys can see what I'm doing. Oh, I just realized one of my lamps is not on. Hold on just a second. Okay. All right, hopefully that's a little bit easier to see. We're gonna take our bolster and we're gonna place it right next to our left hip. So we wanna be sitting right up against that bolster. And you may want a blanket on top of the bolster. We are going to take a few restorative poses before we lay down in Shavasana. So we're going to go ahead and lay our torso down on our bolster. We're going to place our left hand on the left side and the right hand on the right side of the bolster. We're going to lift our torso up and turn it just a little bit to the left, and then lay our head down on our bolster or our blankets. If your hands or you can see my elbows kind of hanging here, and I just moved that block, but you can actually rest your arms on the block if you need. You can keep your head facing to the right, or if your neck would like a little bit more twist, you can turn it to the left. Just allow yourself to settle in to this pose. We're going to actually stay here for a few minutes, and I'm going to set a timer. Remember to breathe here. Surrender to the bolster, to the blankets. So go ahead and wiggle your toes and your fingers. Press yourself up to a seated position. And then at home, you can go ahead and just flip over so that your right hip is actually reaching the bolster. But since I want you guys to be able to see me, I'm just going to flip mine over to the other side. So this time it's your right hip is touching. Your knees do not have to be stacked on top of each other. They can kind of be staggered. Oops. So our right hip is touching the bolster. We're going to go ahead and lay our torso down on the side. So our side body. And then we're going to use our left hand and right hand to lift ourselves up and twist our torso to face a little bit more onto the bolster. And then again, you can turn your head to face the left, or if you want a little bit more of a twist, you can actually twist your head to the right. And again, if your arms don't quite reach, you can use your bolster or pillow or blankets under your arms so that they reach the mat. And we're going to be here for just a few minutes. If it just feels like too much of a twist, any way you do it, you can try to stack more blankets on this, and that will actually help you twist a little bit less. So go ahead and wiggle your fingers and your toes, press yourself back up to a seated position. And then we'll just do a quick butterfly pose. So I'm going to sit up on my blanket or my pillow. Once again, we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. So whatever distance from your butt that is for you, just figure out what your body needs this evening. And then I like to put pillows, especially like sofa pillows or blocks or blankets, rolled up blankets underneath my knees. Just really helps to take the tension out of my pelvis a lot more. So we'll inhale, bring the arms up alongside the ears, and then exhale, fold forward any amount. Maybe gaze at the space in between your feet. You can massage the bottoms of your feet if you'd like. Or you can reach the arms out in front of you if you want a little bit more of a stretch. This stretch is really great for our low back. It's great for our psoas muscle. It's great when we're menstruating or bleeding. It actually helps kind of squeeze our uterine area, which can actually feel really supportive. So use your hands, go ahead and bring yourself back up to a comfortable seated position, and then we'll remove the blocks. And then we're gonna set up for Shavasana, and I want you to be as absolutely comfortable as possible. So I'm gonna actually recommend laying on your stomach this evening. It's just a little bit more restorative and supportive, but I would recommend placing a blanket, a folded up blanket under your hips, just to help with that low back kind of tailbone action going on. So you want to lay down on the mat. You can pick which side you want your face to face. You can place your hands palms down on the mat. You can flip them to face up towards the ceiling. I actually prefer them facing towards the ceiling. You want your toes and the tops of your feet flat on the mat. If this is at all uncomfortable for you, too much pressure on the front body, then by all means, go ahead and set yourself up, rolling over and laying on your back. You can place a bolster underneath your knees. You could place a blanket over your hips to help feel more grounded. You could also place a blanket or a pillow underneath your head to kind of help your neck feel a little more supported. So again, whatever feels best in your body, go ahead and do that. For our final position or our pose for the night. So if you're on your stomach, go ahead and change the direction of your head. Flip your head so the other cheek is on the mat now. I'm going to make sure your neck is nice and even. So if you're on your stomach, go ahead and place your hands under your shoulders. Push yourself up and go ahead and come back into child's pose just briefly. You can widen the knees and keep the big toes touching, or you can keep your thighs together and lower down. If you've got a block, go ahead and place it underneath your forehead. You can keep the arms out front with the elbows lifted, or you can bring the hands in or even behind you. You want your tailbone reaching toward your heels. And then go ahead and push yourself up to a comfortable seated position. If you're on your backs, go ahead and roll over to your right side and then push yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Go ahead and bring your hands together at heart center. I hope your practice this evening has given you rest and renewal, strength and courage. I hope that it's given you an opportunity to surrender into your poses, into your body, surrender to the things that you have no control over, to release that stress and that tension you might be feeling. And I encourage you to find moments of surrender as you go throughout the rest of your evening and the rest of the week ahead. Thank you so much for practicing with me. and practicing self-care for yourselves. Namaste. So thank you all for joining me this evening. Again, Stephanie and I are hosting these classes Monday and Wednesday nights, 6 o'clock Pacific time. And we'd love for you to join us live or to at least be registered and get the replay later on. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on a future class. Bye.